Good evening and welcome. I'm Sheila Balgobin, and I am the Dream Decipherer, and I help you to crack the code of your sleeping dreams so you can sleep sound and dream deep. This evening, I have one short dream, but as always, there's a lot of information to be pulled out of even a little snippet of a dream. So we'll get right into it. The dreamer reports that he dreamed that he, his father, and his siblings were going to visit the dreamer's mother in the hospital. During this time that they were together, the younger brother went for some reason to fix the other brother's hair, not the dreamer, which looked very messy and unkempt. And the father remonstrated with the brother, this younger brother, about it. The dreamer turned to the dad and said, "Don't interfere." And for whatever reason, it seemed to set something off in the father, and he just sat down and began to cry. At that point, the dreamer went over to his father to console him and helped him to stand up and gave him a hug. And that was the end of the story. It's a lovely little dream. And like I said, there's a lot more to it than just what is apparent. There's more behind this story. So let's start and take a look at the various elements of the dream to see what they have to tell us and the dreamer. The family relationships are obviously in play here. There's a dad and three sons. In other words, four people, four men, who are going to visit the wife, the father's wife, or the mother of the three sons in the hospital. We don't know what the illness is or how long she's been there or what the circumstances are, but the mother is in the hospital. There's something quite interesting about the actual numbers. Again, numbers can be significant in a dream. And there are four, besides the dreamer, there are three other people involved without the mother. So there's four. And there's something about the number four, which represents wholeness, it represents balance, represents solidity. I mean, think of a square or a cube. It's very stable. It's unless a hurricane force wind knocks it over, it's not going anywhere. So it's a very stable and balanced formation. So the four represents that sense of wholeness. Yet it is a, a visit to the hospital that really is this, I think, the important part of this story. Um, the mother, obviously being mother of the children and wife to the dad, can also stand for a couple of things. It could be the great mother. I mean, like the archetypal mother, Mother Earth, or the goddess, or whatever, or things of that nature. So in a wider context, but it can also represent just the feminine principle of connectedness and relationship and feeling. And it's interesting that during this visit, the dad actually breaks down and starts to cry, and we teach our little boys that big boys don't cry, or we're teaching them that less, but there's still a lot of that bravado and machismo that's running around. So it's without the influence, if you will, of the mother, whether it be the actual physical mother or energetically a universal mother. The dreamer and his father were in contention with one another. It wasn't only when feeling came through, and they were able to relate to one another on a feeling level, that they connected, literally connected physically as well as emotionally with each other. My question here for the dreamer is whether uh, whether the actual mother is in embodied or is in spirit at this point in time, because even when our loved ones are gone, they're never completely gone. They live within us. They're part of our DNA, for example. But as long as there's somebody to remember them, they're always living. And I wonder what role mother for the dreamer plays today, whether it be on an internal, an emotional level, or in an actual physical level. What place does she hold in terms of this family? The other thing that occurred to me about this is that the mothers would appear to be almost the glue that's holding together the family. Even though she may be ill, and in hospital, she is still the focal point, the central point of the family. Now, there's an interesting thing about this younger brother who fixes the messy hair of the other brother, not the dreamer. Remember, there's the dreamer and his brothers, so there's four people altogether. Now, what does this messing with his brother's head, so to speak, mean for the dreamer? It's not just about messy hair, but what's underneath the hair is our head. What is it? There seems to be some correlation, perhaps, or an indication that someone or something is messing with this brother's head, what that may be. The brothers can also not be who they are. Even the father may not necessarily be who he is, because, as I've stated more than once, the people in our dreams are not necessarily themselves. So, but they represent some aspect of ourselves. So I would put to the dreamer perhaps that these young brothers, whether they're older or younger, we only know that one is younger than the dreamer, the other one may be or may not be older. But what significance do brothers have for the dreamer? What could they represent, not as themselves, but what could aspects of the dreamer could those brothers represent? And even to a certain extent, what does the dad represent for the dreamer? And there's also the the dreamer is telling the dad off. Well, maybe not in an argumentative or mean way, but certainly he's telling the dad off and telling him to stop messing with the kid and stop messing with the younger brother. Leave him be. And there is something about um, going against the authority of the father, and psychologically it's important that we make those breaks away from the mother or the father, because it's the only way we learn to stand on our own 2 feet and become responsible adults. So, but to do that, there has to be a break. Like the French say, to make a souffle, you have to break some eggs. So something has to break before something new can be created. And I wonder for the dreamer, there may be a break of some kind, whether it be a physical break or an emotional break that needs to occur between him and the dad. So that's one question I have about that. But there's also what does this kind of reversal of roles mean to the dreamer, where it becomes the dreamer who comforts the dad, who supports the dad and helps him to stand, as opposed to the dad who helped him to stand when he was a baby, walking, crawling, and walking, and finally being able to stand on his own 2 feet. There's something about a role reversal here where the child has become the parent in a certain sense and has to help the parent to stand. And I wonder how the dreamer may feel about that switching of roles. There's there's a loss of power that seems to have taken place here, perhaps on the emotional level, perhaps on the physical level, but the dreamer remonstrating with the dad um, causes the dad to suddenly to kind of expose his feelings, to break that facade, and he has to sit down and cry. And it's the only time in, other than this expression of maybe of annoyance or anger on the dreamer's part, that any other emotion is being shown. There's nothing that indicates how they may be feeling about going to the hospital to see the mother. There's nothing to indicate what the relationship is between the dad and the dreamer and the brothers. But here we have an emotional outburst by the dad, that requires him to be comforted. So there's a loss of power, if you will, on the part of the father, but that power, in a sense, is again restored to the dad by the son, the dreamer that is, helping him to stand and giving him a hug and kind of giving him that strength to be able to stand once more. Uh, there it makes me wonder about the family dynamics that may be going on in the dreamer's life at this point in time, whether within his family with regard to his father, his actual father and siblings, or if he's happens to be married and have children of his own, how that reflects upon his relationship with his own family. So there's a number of things that can be pulled from this dream. And Mike, I have a bit of curiosity as to why the mother was ill in the first place. What was the nature of the illness? And maybe that's irrelevant, but everything that's in a dream is there for a reason. So there's something about the mother being ill or not being present that, because even though she's in the dream, she doesn't actually participate in it. She's just kind of there, which is interesting in and of itself. Again, it makes me wonder whether the mother in actual life is embodied or in spirit, so that she's there, so to speak, in spirit, but not physically present, and not participating directly in the activities of the dreamer and his dad and his siblings. So there's a lot for the dreamer to think about here and to process, but I think it's a lesson for all of us that how our concerns and um, relationships and everything that's going on in our environment has an impact on what we dream, and each and every symbol has a relevance and pertinence to the person's life, but it's a matter of cracking that code to find out what that relevance is. So there you have it, a short dream, but a dream, as always, filled with loads of information for the dreamer to process and to draw some conclusions and maybe take some actions with. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Have a great evening and wonderful weekend, and I'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.